Set Phasers, a highly illogical Star Trek podcast.
Hello.
It is we.
Archie. It is
Hello.
It is I. It is
Steph.
us.
It is
Hello,
us.
Archie.
It's
And welcome
us.
to you out there to Set Phasers, a highly illogical Star Trek podcast.
You have come to a wonderful, wonderful, terrifying time in season 1 of Star Trek Discovery. It's only getting worse. It's only getting more intense.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Building that tension.
The tension builds. We're getting a lot of psychological stuff. We're getting a lot of emotional stuff. And we're getting a lot of very weird, sciencey, weird science. So
Oh, a lot of what, sorry? Sciencey, weird science.
Sciencey, weird science. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a technical term.
Yep.
Star date today is 10814.8, and we will be discussing episodes 7 and 8 of season 1 of Star Trek Discovery. Their names respectively are Magic to Make the Sanest Man Go Mad and the much happier Si Vis Pacem Parabellum.
Ah, yes, the Latin. There's something
The
about
Latin.
war.
Yeah,
and
if you
seeing
want
peace and war and something or other.
Get ready for war.
Thank you. That's the one. I knew that. Excellent.
You got most of it. So
Thank you.
You got the important parts.
I tried.
Yeah.
Well, Archie, shall we kick it off with our rundown?
Let's run it down. It's time to run it down. Can you run it down for me? Tell me what just happened. Can you run it down for me? Yep, that's my finest moment. It's probably never going to get better than that, honestly.
How could it?
It can't.
It's brilliant.
It's perfect. It's
Yep.
the right amount of funk and the right amount of short. Whatever that means. Okay. Time to run this thing down.
Let's do
I'm
it.
going to do my best. Are you ready? Okay. So,
I'm getting comfy.
you're getting comfy.
This is a long one.
Episode 7. We're going to start with episode 7. It's called Magic to Make the Sanest Man Go Mad. And it is that. This is one, well, you know what? Hey, let's just get into it. There's no cold open. So we basically begin with Michael doing a sort of an officer log, saying, everyone's fitting in. Things are developing a routine. She's got friends. She's developing perhaps some feelings for young Tyler. But she's worried that her history of relationships, which is has been hinted at as being somewhat complex, may be thwarting her in building true relationships. Nonetheless, she is screwing her courage to the sticking place as she arrives to
If
the
I may,
forward
it's
deck.
plate. One was made to study Shakespeare in school. It's
So
plate.
you screw your courage to the sticking plate? I've never read that.
Oh. I shall Google it, but you
You
carry
should...
on.
okay, well, we don't have to play.
Do you want me to? We could...
I mean, go for it.
You can Google that.
I do love it when you use Shakespeare, though.
I do it all the time without thinking about it. So places or plateses. She's screwing her courage to that because it's time to go to a party. And we walk in on, yes?
You were correct. I messed that up in school,
What?
apparently. Yeah,
How did
it's
you-
place.
Well, listen.
Sorry, I messed that whole thing up. I should have
It's
just shut
magic.
up.
No, you're No.
Screw my courage to my chair.
No, you don't have to worry about all that. I think anyway, it's been a Macbethy type of week. So Michael goes to this party. It's a true party. This is one of the
Yeah.
few, I think, Star Trek franchises where they're like, oh, there's a party on whatever, and you go in and you're like, this is a party.
Did it strike you as odd, the music they were using?
I thought it was great. Well, first of
Well,
all,
it was, but I was a bit like, how many...
1997. I was listening to
Yes.
that record nonstop. It
Was
was
it Jazzy
strange.
Jeff? I thought
No, that was
Jeff.
Wyclef Jean from
Okay.
his breakout first solo project.
Mm-hmm.
Although that was the song that featured the rest of the Fugees, but it samples "Staying Alive" by the Bee Gees. So you're getting the best of both worlds. I was thinking about this week because we don't dance to classical music per se. I mean, there's some formal dances you can do to classical music, some ballroom dancing, but we still that's still a celebratory music. I just thought it was interesting that 150, 200 years in the future that
They're throwing it back that far.
they're like, what's the best era for young people getting down? And it's this stuff. Because if, music in other treks does not inspire dancing.
I've not really seen a party like that before with young
No.
people, as you say, getting down.
The original series had some moments where people were supposed to be having a good time, but it's very weird. And of course, anytime I see people partying, I think of Riker trying to play his trombone on 10 Forward, and I feel like that's neither here nor there. Anyway, it's a real party. It's like a 90s party up in there. They have little lei necklaces kind of things they're giving, and they're drinking out of fake plastic cups. And Tilly has her hair down, and Tilly is in full party mode. Yes, they're listening to the Fugees. In any case, there's a sort of, this will become important later, foreshadowing. There's a power surge as Michael's standing there talking to Tilly, and Tilly's like, you should go talk to Tyler. Boo, power surge. And Tilly's still on this, you should talk to Tyler and tell him how you feel. And Michael's sort of there's redundancies. That shouldn't be happening. In any case, Tyler makes a speech, and then he comes over to Michael, and he's like, hey, do you want to dance? And she's sort of and then they are called to the bridge. So she's saved by the bell, as Tyler says. They go to the bridge. There's some light teasing by Tyler, because I think at this point I think he knows that they have chemistry. I think they both know they have chemistry, but I don't know.
They've been making eyes over
They've
breakfast.
been making eyes
in
at
the
each other. This
cafeteria.
is playful teasing. As they're making their way to get to the bridge, they run into Paul Stamets and knock over a bunch of stuff that he and Hugh are carrying, Dr. Culber. And they apologize, but then Stamets is in this very creepy good mood. Stamets, ever since he first connected with the Spore Drive, he has been in this sort of surreal happy
Haze.
place. Yeah, haze. I wrote down that he seems high.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, oh God, you guys are, why would you, these are the moments of our lives. I think he actually gives Michael a hug.
Yeah, he's high on his own mushrooms or something.
He's high on mushrooms, faux show. And he turns to Tyler and he says, you are a very tall man. Anyway, that happens. And then there's some more awkward exchange about Tyler and Michael with Paul Stamets at the center of it. But then they get into the turbulent. They go to the bridge. There is a yellow alert. And what they yes, thank you.
Carry on.
Yellow alert. What they discover is something called let me consult my notes. Gormagander,
Yes.
aka space whale.
Space whale.
Big space whale. And apparently they're endangered and they don't mate very often, and so it's incumbent upon Starfleet officers to collect them and bring them to some sort of preserve so they can mate, I guess. And Lorca is completely uninterested in this. I think Michael, maybe this is not this one, but anyway, Michael's like, okay, let me go handle this because she's the exobiologist, exophilologist. She deals with alien stuff, and she goes down to where they sort of transport this giant space whale in, and they're looking at it, and things are going great and whatever, and she's having a little talk to people, and then there's a weird surge from inside the Gormagander, and out steps a man, or a figure really, in a cool space helmet that looks sort of
It's kind of alien-y. Because it's almost
It's
got the one eye thing.
alien rabbit sort of.
Yes. Donnie Darko, maybe.
Yeah, Donnie Darko / The Tick for those who are complete nerds. And this figure starts killing people just indiscriminately with a phaser. Pew, 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 pew. Michael dodges, recovers. She alerts the bridge. A red alert is not verbally spoken, but it's up on the screen. It's a red alert. And she says there's an intruder. They try to lock down the intruder from the bridge and eventually do like corner it. And Lorcas tries to talk to it, and the intruder starts laughing and removes its mask, and it is none other than Harcourt Fenton Mudd. Rainn Wilson reprising his role from an episode or two ago. And he is laughing, and he's saying, hey, I'm going to kill all of you. I'm going to figure out what makes your ship so special. I'm going to sell it to the Klingons. And in the process, I'm going to kill you all as many times as possible. Or you, specifically Lorca, whom he has some hatred for. He once again mentions his dear, sweet Stella, who he says that Lorca prevented him from ever seeing again by leaving him in that prison ship 2 episodes ago. And then he clicks a little button. Stella! And great, Shakespeare to Tennessee Williams. And then the entire ship explodes. So everyone dies. The fire rolls forward into the camera, white out. And then we are back at the party. And that's yes.
Yeah.
That's when we realize we're in a time loop episode. Yes!
Woo!
Listen, I normally, in fact, I have to be honest, most Star Treks, when there's a time loop episode, I'm like, ugh, one of these. But sometimes it's done just right. TNG did it right a bunch of times, and this is also excellently done. So we go back to the party, and the same sort of stuff happens, and Michael and Ash get called to the bridge, and as they're walking to the elevator, everything happens, except they do not run into Paul Stamets. And so they get on the turbolift, and then Stamets is running down the hall, and he's sort of like ranting at them. He's like, no, you must listen to me. He's doing a whole like, well, listen, I don't want to show all my cards, but I think they really have Stamets being the rabbit in Alice in Wonderland, who's always worried about time and being late to the castle and so on and so forth. And I think that comes up later in some later episodes. But he's definitely sort of prefacing that character here. He runs up and he's, you must listen to me. We've done this before, blah, 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 blah. And they're sort of like, I think you're not something's wrong with you. And of course, he had been acting a little weird recently, very, high on his own mushrooms, if you will. And Culber runs up and he's like, I'm sorry, he's ranting. And then Stamets says, you got to listen to me. There's no time, or rather there is time, too much time. And of course that means that no one's going to listen to a thing you're saying. Because anytime you say something like that, time.
Cray cray.
Cray cray. So he says, and as their doors are closing, he says, it all begins with the Gormagander. And the doors close. Tyler's like, what's a Gormagander? And Michael says, a space whale? And he goes,
what's a Gormagander with you?
Yeah, what's a Gormagander? No, it was good. That was really good stuff.
Thanks.
Were you like waiting to do that one?
No, I just on the spot, just like that.
There you go. That's improv. Yes, and okay. So they go to the bridge. It's a Gormagander. Tyler and Burnham, Michael freak out, and they're like, "Oh," but they don't know exactly what to do. And this is when Lorca's like, listen, I don't care. I have to pick this thing up. Michael says, I think I should be down there and take charge on this program. And he says, I do not give a damn. Just get it done. And Tyler steps up and he says, I think I should run security on this. And he says, I still don't give a damn. And they both go down and they are looking at the whale, and then weird readings come from it again. But instead of a guy in a weird helmet stepping out, they get a thing that's like a weird transporter feeling. And then back on the deck, a black alert is sounded of a sudden, and nobody knows why. And they're locked out of engineering. And so Michael and Tyler run engineering together. The doors are locked, and they're trying to get in, and the doors are open, and who should be in there but Harcourt Fenton Mudd, drinking behind the console. And he's like, he's trying to figure out what this whole black alert thing is, and he sort of questions Michael and Tyler, who try to attack him, but he's set up a force field or something. And he's like, I don't have time. Or, he's pointing at some kind of weird wristband.
Got his weird watchy thing on.
Yeah, his weird watchy thing. And he's bragging and being loud and being a complete jerk. And then he gets shot in the back by Paul Stamets, who says something like, as far as days go, this is a weird one. And then sort of hints at, like, we don't have any time left for me to explain, so I'll see you guys back when we start. And then we go back to the past again.
We're going to keep doing it every time.
Why not? Yeah, we discussed this before, a peek behind the curtain.
We said one.
We were like, we should only do one because it happens 4,000 times. But you know what? I'm liking it. So now they're back. This is when I have to consult my notes because I have to know which time we're going back to. You know what I missed the best part of that second loop is that when they're talking in engineering, Michael says, "You're mad," and Rainn Wilson says, "No, I'm mud." Which
yes, that was a good one.
So the original series, like goofy cornball, but I loved it. Anyway, okay, so back to the Fugees playing, back to the party. This time, Stamets intervenes before he finds Michael at the party, and he kind of explains, like, "Listen, we're on this 30-minute time loop. I need your help. We've got to stop this guy who's trying to destroy our ship." Meanwhile, on the bridge, Lorca is called away to sickbay for some mysterious reason, and when he gets down there, he is taken hostage by Mud. Mud, who's like, "Oh, you never know that it's going to be me." Oh, wait, there are children screaming outside? Should I? Literally.
Could you go and stop them?
You want me to just run? I'll just quickly
just
get my keys, run downstairs,
just,
and be like, "Hey, I'm in the middle of recording a podcast about Star Trek, so if you could
let's keep it down.
Just keep it down a little bit."
It's fine. Yeah. It's nearly their bedtime anyway.
I think that's why they're
screaming.
It's like, it's time to go in. The street lights have come on. They're like, "No." I get it, kid. The best part of being adult is not having to go to sleep.
No bedtime.
That's right.
You set your own bedtime.
You set your own bedtime, and you pay for your own mistakes.
Well, other people pay for your crankiness, but sure.
That's right. Well, yes, those are all the same things. Where was I? Yes. So he's taken captive, and Mud's like, "I want you to take me to this one place I can't access on your ship." And Mud sort of explains that he's basically done this a couple times. We don't really know how many times at that point. We flash back to Stamets and Michael, and Stamets is telling Michael, "Listen, the reason that I can figure this out is because of the tardigrade DNA, and I'm outside of time and space, I guess." And Michael's like, "Okay." And he's like, "Listen, I need you to tell me a secret that I can tell you so that we don't have to go through this song and dance every time where I show you that I know that this has happened before." Michael whispers in Stamets' ear, and he responds, "I'm sorry." And we're like, what could it be? Okay, so we flash back to Mud holding Lorca hostage in his weird... Yeah, whoa, not flashback.
Oh.
Just jumping to. Okay. You know what? It's fine.
I'll remove it.
If there's a couple extra, no one's going to mind.
No one cares.
Mud is basically gloating over Lorca, and he explains that he's killed him 53 times, and then he kills him again, and he says, "We're going back."
Oh, you want me to do it again?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
After the...
Sorry. Sure.
Okay, great. So Mud kills Lorca for the 54th time. Ship explodes. Back to party. Power surge. Stamets runs in, talks to Michael. She doesn't believe him. He says, "You've never been in love." She says, "Why would you say that to me?" He said, "Because you told me." So now we know Michael's never been in love. Is that a Volcant moment? Or is it a Michael moment?
Oh, I think it's a Michael.
I think it's a Michael moment. Michael Burnham's never been in love. It's a tragedy.
Mm-hmm. What was the Wyclef Jean song, by the way?
What was that song called?
We're Trying to Stay Alive?
Americanism. Yeah, We'd Be Trying to Stay Alive. Yes.
This one?
Correct.
You carry on. I'll just, keep
great.
this on in the background.
So we're back at the party. He says, "You've never been in love." She's like, "What? Why would you say it to me?" He's like, "I told you that I needed to say a thing to you." So he's got her attention. He says, like, "Listen, I haven't been able to figure out a way for this not to end poorly. I think we need to get Tyler on our side." She goes, "Why do you want me to talk to Tyler?" And he's like, "Because Tyler likes you, baby." Mm-hmm. And she's like, I don't know how to talk to Tyler. I don't know how to dance. And so they have a weird, kind of wonderful moment where they're just dancing in a hallway. And Stamets is explaining how he met Hugh and how they're just talking about love. And it's beautiful.
I thought
It's
that was
wonderful.
adorable. So
It was
sweet.
adorable. And then they blow up. And then we go, yeah.
Oh, my back.
Yeah.
I didn't think I'd get so much work tonight. This is quite good.
Well, this is a crazy episode. Any of the time episodes are crazy. So they're back in the party. And this time Tyler asks Michael to dance. She says she doesn't have time for that. But then she's like, you know what? Maybe it's a good call. Maybe we should dance. So they dance and they talk about, she mentions mud. And he's like, what? Oh, actually, when they're dancing, it's Al Green's Love and Happiness that is playing. Flump, 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 dum, 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 dum. Anyway,
I've got to find that, but
yeah,
you carry on.
listen,
you carry
this
on.
is not necessary to do that. Tilly winks at Michael, which I just love. I just love Tilly in this whole episode. And in the next episode, but I'll come to that. And Michael explains the loop, but they also sort of talk about, he's like, why did Stamets think you should tell me? And she says, well, because I like you. And then they kiss. Shun-da-da-da. Anyway, while that's happening, Mud is taking over the bridge hostily, and he's like shooting people. And he's got little dark matter pellets, I guess, that he found in Lorca's office.
Yeah.
And so when Michael and Ash get to the bridge to try and stop him, he throws one of these pellets at Ash, who dies an excruciating death where he dissipates into nothing, I guess. And instead of killing more, Stamets decides to admit that he is the key to the spore drive, that he is the pilot, that he has to be jacked in via his new cybernetic implant thing that Hugh made, and that's how it works. And then they blow up one more time. They blow up one more time. Boom. So everything happens again. They figure things out. Michael brings Tilly on board, and Tilly and Michael decide to explore the Gormaganda, where they find Mud's ship. They find the time crystal thing, but they realize that the controller must be on Mud. They know that Mud's trying to like extort things to figure out the ship to sell it to the Klingons, and he also wants to kill whatchamacallit, so they wait till the very last minute, and then Michael, because this time I think he's taken over the ship now that he knows about Stamets. Yeah, yes. He's got the secrets he needs, and he's going to sell it to the Klingons.
Yep.
And as time is running out, Michael says, we know what would really sweeten the deal for the Klingons. What would be even better than the ship? Me. I killed Takuma, their messiah. And he's like, ooh, yeah. And then once the wheels start working and the greediness starts to take over, she kills herself with one of the black matter pellets.
Yes.
And then
he has to restart.
She has to restart. He has to do it because he needs that money. He's so greedy. So one more time, the ship explodes.
And we go back again.
Oh, we go back again. But then we get like a sweet, I describe this as like an A-Team style montage. Everything kind of the party, and they look at each other, and like everything you see it happening because we've seen it a bunch of times. They go to the ship, they do something with the captain, they do this other thing. Anyway, it ends up that Mud winds up taking over again, and they let him think that he's won and that he's going to take Michael and sell her, but spare the crew of the Discovery. And he punches something into the chair, and he's like, "Haha, the Klingons are on their way!" And as he's taking them down the hall, they sort of reveal that the jig is up. Ha ha ha!
It's very Scooby-Doo.
It's totally Scooby-Doo.
It's so Scooby-Doo.
Because they're like, you're always talking about your dear sweet Stella. I thought maybe you'd want to see her again. And so when they get to the transporter room, who should show up but Stella and her father, the Baron Grimes?
Sure.
Did I write that right?
I don't remember.
Damn.
I forgot. Sorry.
I was so excited I did not write down the full name. I think it's Baron Grimes.
Okay.
I was so excited to write down A-Team sequence. Anyway, and Stella there, and the father is sort of like doting on his daughter, and he's like, I love my daughter, and whatever she wants, I want her to have, and she wants Mud to come with her and stay with her. And so Mud is taken off the ship by his dear, sweet Stella. And yes, never to be heard from again unless you've watched the original series, in which case you know that he comes back twice more. Okay, so the epilogue, the last little bit of episode 7 is Tyler and Michael in the turbolift, And Michael's basically having her volcant moment once
Oh,
again.
is she?
This is when she
I
says
Volcans.
she needs more time.
More time.
Before she can really get back into the relationship. And Tyler says very cutely that he's just sorry that he won't remember their first kiss. And then there's like a little personal log that Michael has where she says things are back in the groove and we'll see where things go. And that is the end of Magic to Drive the Sanest Man Mad, or whatever it's actually called. Whoa! I'm going to have a sip of tea now. That's right, I just did. I did it, yeah.
I like that. Good job. Good rundown.
Oh, boy.
That was a hard one to do, actually. There was just so many
After last week's with all the memory flashbacks, I was like,
Yeah.
I won't let this happen again.
Good job.
Are you ready?
I am.
Moving on to episode 8.
Yes.
Episode 8, Si vis pacem parabellum. Actually, I realized as I was rewatching this, it is a perfect title for the episode. In almost every way. Si vis pacem the Latin. If you want peace, prepare for war.
Well, I was trying to do it so I could put this on the screen.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. We can do a Latin lesson later for everyone who's concerned. Okay, so I've decided to take Steph's advice, and there are 2 major plot lines here, and I'm just going to do them basically separately, and we'll see how they intertwine as they come together. So let's start with the more immediate plot line of Discovery. So we begin the episode with Discovery attempting to save the USS Gagarin, which is under attack by some Klingon raiders. Discovery jumps into the area. They're like, haha, we're here. We did the spore drive thing. We're so badass. And then a Klingon ship decloaks and starts attacking everything and starts attacking the Gagarin. And Lorca tries to use the Discovery to block the missiles and help the Gagarin get away, but they only block one missile and the Gagarin is destroyed. And their shields are down to 10%. And so he's like, all right, fine, black alert. Boo boo. And, Stamets jumps. Mm-hmm. And they jump away, having lost this battle. And we remember from the last few episodes, it seems like the Federation's kind of doing better in the war, but this doesn't seem quite good. This seems like they sort of have figured out Discovery's number. After the jump, Stamets comes out of the tube room where he gets the spore needle.
Oh, his wee shower room.
His wee shower room, yes. And he staggers a little bit. And then he calls Tilly Captain for some very strange reason. And she's like, did you call me Captain? He's like, no, what are you, an idiot? And he lashes out at her. And she's like, oh, what? No. And he kind of storms off. And I have to say, it's nice to see Stamets is back to his old grumpy self.
Yep.
Ooh, that stings. It sure does. Lorca, meanwhile, is getting the rundown from the admiral. He's like, "What's going on here?" And the one of the admirals, this is, the Vulcan admiral, because as you may recall, Admiral Cornwell. Mm-hmm. Did I do it right?
Cornwell, yes, Cornwell.
Admiral Cornwell was captured at the end of 2 episodes ago by some rogue houses of Klingons who were working for Cole of House Core. We find out that Cole of House Core has been bringing other houses to the fold by having them sort of bend the knee to him in order to get the stealth technology that the Ship of the Dead has. So he's been giving out the Ship of the Dead stealth technology, and the Vulcan admiral says, and that means that the mission you're doing at Pavo is even more important. And that, secret of all secrets, is the B plotline that I'll get to later. Okay, so meanwhile, on the Ship of the Dead, L'Rell shows up with a huge scar on her face from the time she got shot in the face by Lorca. Remember that?
Yep.
And Cole's like, hey, scar makes your face look better. And she's like, ugh, whatever.
I wear it with pride or something like that.
Yeah, I wear it with pride
battle scar
she's
or something.
badass and he's a patak. But we don't need to go into that because she'll break it down later. She basically has to agree to, because she's from the spy family of the Klingon houses. She's like, I hear you have an unruly prisoner that refuses to cooperate. Perhaps I could convince them to give us some information. And so Cole sort of like, yeah, if you get some information out of this prisoner, we'll let you hang out with us here on the ship, and you can get the stealth technology, and we'll let you back to the fold. Whatever, it's cool. Bygones be bygones. So Laurel is led to the prisoner, who turns out to be dun, 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 none other than Admiral Cornwell, Katarina Cornwell, Cat, and she's left in the room, but the guards are outside, and she forces the admiral to pretend that she's being maimed and tortured, and they scream at each other, and then the guards leave, and Laurel says, "Good, now we can talk." Flashback to Discovery.
In English.
In English, yeah, because her English is impeccable, as you recall, because she's a spy.
Yep.
Or whatever is supposed to be English in the Federation. We don't have to go into it. I don't want to get emails. Okay, so on the Discovery, Tilly is killing the game because she confronts Stamets, and Stamets tries to like do the whole bully thing, and this is Tilly time. He's like, "Get out of here, cadet," or whatever, and he's like, "You don't tell me what to do," and she just stands there and she's like, "You're gonna tell me what's going on, or we're not gonna move forward," and hit him with the Tilly time.
Tilly, don't be silly. Tilly's space is wide. Clearly it gets chilly. Tilly, it's your time.
Tilly, it's your time. You know what? Tilly really shows some guts here, standing up to quite possibly one of the most intimidating, apart from Lorca, one of the most intimidating persons on the ship. I don't think a lot of people want to be get a point blank Stamets blast. But Stamets basically admits to Tilly that, things are getting weird. The more jumps they do, his head gets jumbled, his mind gets weird. He hasn't told his partner Hugh, because if he told Dr. Culber would have to report him, and they would have to stop the experiments. But if Culber didn't report him, then he would be court-martialed, so he has to not tell him and keep it secret until he's like, "Fine, we'll keep it secret, but if you have any issues, you got to come to me right away." Back to the Klingon ship of the dead. Laurel says, "Listen, I hear that you and Starfleet don't kill all of your prisoners out of hand, so I would like to defect because the, quote, Patak, who leads our people now, is garbage, and she is disillusioned with the nascent Klingon empire. It's fun. The houses are finally coming together, but under the wrong leadership, under Craven leadership, and so she wants to defect to Starfleet." And so Laurel and Cornwell stage an escape, and they're making their way through the ship, and Laurel's like, what? Do you want to say something?
Was it real, do you think? Her wanting to defect? What did you think? Because, like, she's an adept spy. We know this. Do you think she was playing Cat Cornwell? Our admiral?
I don't know, but I think it was genuine. Because I think...
Because had she not
barring what I know in the future, I do think that she wanted to get off that ship.
Yes.
And she wants to get away from Cole, and she wants to get away. He's consolidating power, even though she thinks of him as sort of like a spineless fool. She needs to get out of there, and she sees this as her ticket to get off, to get out of the range of his power.
Yep.
But as they're escaping, they are very conveniently found by Cole, which is why it's so confusing. And what's it? Because they do exchange like I forget what she says. Like, she's like, "Sorry, I had to be you," or she says, "You're not what I expected," to Cornwell, and Cornwell says, "Neither were you." And then they fight each other, and she delivers Cornwell what seems to be a devastating, perhaps death blow. She like throws her up against an electronic panel, and she gets electrocuted, and she falls out. And there's a long shot on Cornwell, and
she gets dragged out of the shot. Yep.
She gets dragged out of the shot. We might have to give her a little faith of the heart treatment.
Yes.
Yeah. Admiral Katarina Cornwell, you have immense charisma and insight. You are, at present, the only person who seems to realize that something is very, very wrong with Captain Gabriel Lorca. But you went in search of peace, si vis pacem, to try to come up with some truce with the Klingons, and instead were betrayed, made a prisoner, then told you could escape, and then killed during that escape by the person who said they'd escape you. You had faith of the heart. She did. Okay,
She
so
died.
she died. And Laurel says, "I will dispose of the body," because I guess she's trying to, she's like, "Oh, we weren't trying to escape. She just got out of hand, so I'll just throw this body away." She drags the body of Admiral Cornwell to, I guess, the body disposal room. And there she discovers all of her former crew. They used to be there with her and Volk and Takuvma, and they've all been brutally slaughtered
Dismembered
and dismembered, and parts of them have probably been eaten. It's without honor
Nope.
how they were
Definitely no honor.
dispatched. That said, from a Klingon point of view, I have to say at this moment, I was like, they betrayed Volk and Laurel by going over to Cole just because he brought some food, which to me was kind of effed up when they were trying to go get that dilithium processor or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not saying
I
that
hear ya.
their
It's a
bodies
good- it's a
should
good
have
point.
been despoiled that way, but, you reap what you sow in the Klingon Empire. So she vows then and there that she will destroy Cole. And she finds her way back to the bridge and discovers that her cover has been blown. Cole never really believed that she was on his side, and she is then taken into custody and imprisoned. And that is the end of the A plotline. That all happened, Discovery and the Klingon Ship of the Dead. Meanwhile, remember that the Admiral, who was the Vulcan, mentioned the mission in Pavo. Well, there's an away team on
Yes.
Pavo, and it happens to be Michael, Saru, and Ash Tyler. And they are there apparently because this planet has like everything about it vibrates, and they all vibrate in harmony, and there's like a sympathetic vibration, and so the whole planet is vibrating, and then there's a huge naturally forming crystalline structure that reaches sort of up into the upper atmosphere and casts this vibration out into space, and
It's
they're
a
there
bit
to
Jack
see.
and the Beanstalk, isn't
It
it?
is very Jack and the Beanstalk. Yeah, well, very Alice in Wonderland too. I mean, I don't want to get too into it because it's very satisfying. Anyway, they are there to see if they can use that huge antenna to sort of like find a way to help them identify Klingon cloaked ships, because it's so powerful they could send out like a big. It's sort of like water displacement, but like tachyon particle displacement or something.
Right.
Yeah. So they're trying to get to this giant natural transmitter, but because of the interference of all the the harmonic sort of synergy of the planet, they weren't able to drop in right by the antenna. They have to drop in far away, so they're hiking there. They are pleasantly accosted by like big clouds of shiny particles, and Saru attempts to make first contact and believes that he's speaking with an intelligent like creature. He's not sure what creatures they are, but they're like clouds of floating, glittering stuff that sometimes take a humanoid sort of form, but sometimes it's just clouds. But the clouds lead the away team to a tent. That to me was the creepiest part. I was like, why is there
It
a
was a
tent here?
bit, yeah.
And in the tent is like a column of the bright cloud things. And Saru's like, well, time for me to do my Saru thing and engage in first contact, because Saru
Sticks his
speaks
hand
4 bajillion languages. And also the like harmonics of the planet have really been annoying him because he has very sensitive hearing. As a creature, the Kelpians are like trained to be wary of predators, and so they have heightened sight and hearing. And it is mentioned that they can run something like 880 kilometers an hour when being attacked.
Yeah.
So Saru's really slowing down to have Michael and Tyler with him. But he begins to try and communicate by putting his hand in the cloud, and apparently truck
Yep. I'd say it's a good 6 wheels, that one.
easily. Might
Yep.
be a garbage truck.
Maybe.
Yep. You hear
Yeah.
that?
Yep. It's Friday night.
It's Friday night and the mood is right. Let's pick up some garbage. Okay. So Saru begins to communicate with the beings in earnest, and Michael and Ash have nothing to do but wait. So they go to sit outside of the tent and they talk about, he's like, hey man, when this war is over, I want to take you to like New Jersey or something. I forget where he says he wants to take her, someplace in America. And he's like, we're gonna go freshwater fishing. We're going to eat trout and make love all night or something like that. He doesn't say that, but that's basically what's on his mind. And she's like, oh, I've never done any of that stuff. And she's like, I'm a prisoner. When this war's over, I'll probably go back to jail. Remember how I killed everyone? Because I'm a mutineer. And he's like, oh, we'll figure something out. And then they kiss here on the planet of Pavo. And it's just beautiful.
Their second kiss, but so did their first.
Their first kiss.
But
And it's in a wonderful,
remember.
exotic environment. We remember the first kiss because
First kiss, yeah.
we're God. So by nightfall, Saru comes out and he's like, listen, I've made some progress, but we're really just beginning to get the language here. And now that we know that the planet itself is sentient, everything is connected, we need to get their permission as Starfleet officers before we can use that antenna for our purposes. Mm-hmm. And so he says, hey, we're going to be here for the night. They bed down for the night and they go to sleep in the tent. Saru is tormented by the loudness of this place, and he's like tossing and turning and can't sleep. He gets up, goes outside. It's building. We're sort of like privy to what it feels like for him, this like crescendoing, troubling sound. And then the weird light particles go into his head. And then there's silence.
That's always a creepy thing in Star Trek when someone's sort of like taken over.
Good.
It's never a good thing.
Like there should be a protocol for that in Starfleet where it's like, hey, are floating clouds going into anyway?
You're right. It happens so often.
Teammate who was really like upset or angry or something suddenly very happy. Restrain them. So anyway, the next day they're like, oh, looks like someone got some sleep. And Saru's like, it really is lovely here. I've been talking to the Pavans and they're totally willing to help us. And Michael and Ash are like, oh, that's great. So they'll do the thing. And he's like, yep, they're totally down. All I need you to do is give me your communicators. And they go, oh, okay. And they give him their communicators, and Saru snaps them in half. And he says, we're going to stay here forever. You can't leave. It's a paradise, so deal with it. And he just kind of walks off. He's like super happy. They have no way to communicate. Tyler and Michael have something of an argument here because Tyler's like, listen, he pulls rank on Michael. He's like, we need to get this mission done. Saru is, he's on the lam. He's gone native and we can't trust him. So we need to hatch a plan. You need to get to that crystal structure and hack it. And at this point, I think they're just thinking maybe just get a message out to Discovery to come get them, not necessarily do the whole Klingon thing per se. But they refuse to be trapped there with Saru forever. Even Saru's like, oh, we're in a land of peace and joy now. Saru, who's never like that. Kind of like Stamets in the last episode. Anyway, I won't. I'm just saying, the themes are overrunning. So Ash constructs an elaborate ruse to distract Saru, and does like a whole like, oh yeah, I want to know what it is like to be joined to the planet. And he gets Saru talking, and Saru, ever the garrulous philosophizer, starts talking about this and that and blah and blah. And meanwhile, Michael is running for the crystalline antenna, and she's got her pack on, and she's running as fast as she can. And she sets the pack up. Eventually Saru sees through this, and he is not happy, and he runs a super duper fast, like gazelle fast, like 80 kilometers per hour fast.
Which I found really funny because we know that Doug, forgotten his last name.
Oh no, I have a friend named Doug Jones. Is his name Doug Jones?
Thank you, Doug Jones.
Great. Well,
there you go. We know that Doug Jones cannot walk very well in those sort of reverse platforms.
Yeah.
So we sort of see this running, and it looks a little bit weird because they've obviously had to engineer it and do some effects to make him look like he's running super fast.
Yeah.
And there's like there are these shots that you kind of see some feet, and then you see some arms. Like you don't sort of see him running in one
just
one
shoulder
shot.
moving super fast through forest.
Yeah.
But he's just booking it to Michael. And she's like trying to set up the thing, and he arrives before she really gets an uplink, and they fight, and he throws her, and she shoots him, but he's undeterred. He like threw a phaser.
Yeah, he did.
He's like still fighting. Yeah. So they keep fighting. In the meantime, the sparkly cloud Pavan mist transports Ash to their fight. So Ash is there now. and Saru has like destroyed by like using like punches, has destroyed the machine that was connected to the crystalline act, thinking that that's it. And then they are surrounded by the weird humanoid floating cloud
Sort of,
things.
yeah, apparition-y type.
Right. And Saru's sort of like telling them like, listen, don't do this. Don't do this. And Michael's going the other way. You've got to help us. The Klingons are trying to destroy everything and you could help us. And then something inexplicable really happens. And the machine being dead, the tower lights up. And so, our perception is that, oh, it worked. Michael convinced them, the Pavins, to help them. And then their Discovery says, hey, we got you. We have transporter lock you ready to go. And they're beamed back up. And Saru is distraught. So he's like beamed up, still like on his knees, like, no. And Michael and Saru talk in sickbay, and Saru basically admits that like he's never lived without fear. And this was the first time he had been unfearing of his life, and it was bliss. And he didn't want it to end, and it drove
It's like
him
a
mad.
drug.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a drug.
Like a drug, yeah. Mm-hmm. So many interesting versions of drug being peddled here. In any case, he's ashamed that he almost put Michael and Ash in danger, and I think he begins to understand that sometimes when you are driven by powerful emotion, and you can sometimes make hasty decisions that can lead to stranding your teammates or starting a war with the Klingon Empire. So, he who lives in glass houses dare not throw stones is what I'm saying. I think that Saru is like, you know what, Michael, I'm ashamed and I get where you're coming from.
Simpatico.
Simpatico, forgiveness and understanding. That is what we discover in this episode. And then back on the bridge, we discover that the planet is casting out like this big energy surge, but it's not the surge that they wanted, to like find Klingon ships. It's like sending out like a subspace message to the Klingon ship of the dead, and it's sort of like inviting them there. And then now we'll jump back to the other storyline. This is where they intertwine. The Klingons are like, oh, we've got an invitation from the planet Pavo. They want us to meet with Starfleet. Ha ha ha, we will. But obviously, Cole's going to destroy whoever he meets there. And that is the end. Civis Pacem Parabellum. You wanted peace? Well, prepare for war.
Indeed.
Pew.
Pew, 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 pew. Good job.
I saw a lot of comments
Good
come in.
job.
I couldn't read them because I'm literally I'm inundated with notes.
You are inundated
But
with notes.
I hope people enjoyed my attempt to. I throw it. It floated back. I'm not good at throwing paper.
I can see that.
Yeah.
You must try harder.
I must try harder.
Get more paper. Just even if you've not written on it, just so
that's
it
good.
looks effective.
It would be cool if somebody else was cleaning up the paper. But I feel like then we turn this off and I have to like get down and I have to put them back in order because I need everything to be in order. I need to open this folder and be like, episodes 7 and 8, all in a row. So I don't know. I didn't have any huge stats.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, I threw my paper away.
To stats.
So there go my things. There were 2 yellow alerts. There were 3 yellow alerts, 2 red alerts, and across both episodes, 2 black alerts that I can recall.
Lots of alerts. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
We had a who
yeah.
died.
We had a who died, and we had a Tilly moment. Oh, you know what I did want to say?
Yes.
I wanted to say, can you play the instrumental Tilly music?
The piano one?
Do you have that? Yeah.
I do.
Tilly, don't be
That's the singing one.
Sorry, then no. Did you
okay.
send me? Didn't think you sent
I know.
me.
I didn't know that I was going to do this, but it occurred to me, and I also saw a note here that I wrote on a Post-it because, as I've said, I'm disorganized because there's a lot to go through. That one of the overarching themes, I think, of the B plot lines of these 2 episodes, which is being established, sort of underneath everything else, is that Sylvia Tilly is in possession of an immense capacity for emotional intelligence. And she utilizes it in ways where, in the quote that Georgiou said to Michael in the will, where she said, take care of yourself, but moreover, take care of those in your care. Sylvia Tilly is showing some real captain chops. In episode 7, she is the one who's like, Michael, you need to get on this thing with Tyler. There's, this tension between you two is not going to be good. She's confronting Michael, who can be very thorny about emotional issues. And then in episode 8, she just like steps right up to Stamets and she's like, something's going on and it could be destructive and you need someone to confide in, and I will be that person for you. Two brave, very brave, and moves that are helping the crew maintain their integrity. I just thought it was important to give a shout out to Sylvia Tilly in these 2 episodes. She is showing her captain chops. We know that she's super smart because she graduated from Starfleet at like 12 or whatever. And she can do the gravitron metrics. But we are now seeing that also she's very good with people.
Her EQ, in fact.
You're right. EQ. Well, there you go. Sylvia Tilly, you the bomb. Okay. Quotable moments?
Quotable moments.
Wait, do you know?
Quotable moments. No,
Wow,
I just
that
sound
was
like that.
Is there an echo in here?
I could do it like an echo. We could try that. Ready? Quotable moments. Quotable moments. I pushed it twice.
Well, I mean, that's means
I'll get it right next time.
Yeah, next time we'll do it. It's important.
Anyway,
So, do you have? I didn't have any long quotes, as is my want, because I had all the short quotes. I thought these was a lot of like poom 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 pow pow pow.
Pew, pew, pew,
But
pew,
you had a
pew.
pretty good quote.
I had a great one from Harry Mudd, and so when he thought he was leaving Discovery and he'd called the Klingons and he was going to give them Michael Burnham, he said, "I never thought I'd be so happy to see those pointy-headed bastards."
Poetry. Pure poetry.
And it's good because it's normally the point, like the joke in Star Trek is always the pointy-eared bastards or whatever,
Yes.
and so it was pointy-headed.
Right.
bastards.
And a nod to how the Discovery people have yet again sort of changed the appearance of the Klingons. The Klingons have had never had a regular appearance, and I beseech anyone to come for me who wishes to argue otherwise. Kapla. I said good
Okay.
day.
You did say kapla.
Yes. Shall we? Oh, did you want to come for me?
No,
Oh, okay.
I wasn't going to come for you. I was just going to say, I think in, is it Voyager and TNG? I don't know about DS9, but I feel like
DS9.
Klingons, they look kind of similar across those 3, no?
Sure, but those are all concurrent. All those shows are
True.
So
Fair.
to pretend that is somehow a longer era or carries greater weight is kind of ridiculous. The original series has a different kind of Klingons, and the TNG Klingons are a different kind of Klingons. And hey, the J.J. Abrams movies had a different kind of Klingons, and these are a different kind of Klingons. Deal with it, because we're going back in time. This is pre-TOS. Did you want them to have just like guys in brown face with mustaches being Klingons? Kapla is what I'm saying to you.
So many sound effects, so little
Yes.
time, Arky.
Wow. This is the debut of Kapla Corner. I usually don't get upset and start talking all out of the side of my neck, but sometimes I gotta just tell it like it is. And you know what? My door is open if you want to argue. Shall we go to next time?
I think we should before it all gets out of control.
Next time on Set Phasers.
Okay, next time on Set Phasers, we're once again doing 2 episodes because we are crazy. And the season 3 premiere vastly approaches. So we will be doing 2 episodes that bridge the gap, because season 1 had this long break in it. And we'll see you next week. But episode 9, the end of chapter 1 of season 1, is called Into the Forest I Go. And episode 10, the first episode of chapter 2 of season 1, which also was directed by Jonathan Frakes, is called Despite Yourself.
Love John Frakes.
And some very interesting things are going to be happening. So, jeez. All right, you're right. We got to. This thing's going to go off the rails. So we want to thank you for joining us. If you enjoyed the program, you can catch us every Friday at 8 p.m. on Facebook Live, or as a podcast that you can download wherever podcasts come from. So please subscribe.
Yes, indeed. And thank you so much for watching and commenting through the episode. I really enjoyed watching your
Yes,
comments.
thank you for that. I missed them all, but thank you.
Archie will go through them later. We are on Facebook, Instagram at Set Phasers Podcast. Feel free to follow us and join in the conversation of all things Trek. And if you want to share things with us on our page, we would love to see what kind of Trek things you're into.
Including arguments about the Klingons. If you want to support us in our continuing mission to discover what Discovery has in store for us, we'd only be delighted. You can patronize us, because we can take it, by going to patreon.com/setphasers and signing up.
Until next time, I'm Steph Mans.
And I'm Aki Burmese, and this has been Set Phasers, a highly illogical Star Trek podcast.
Computer. End program.